Eveline, a woman whose aura instantly captivated all eyes, stood majestically in the room. It wasn't just her wealth that drew attention, but her air of superiority that set her apart. Her diamond necklace sparkled like stars, rivaling the brilliance of her watch, visible on her tailored blazer. With a glass of wine in hand, she surveyed the room, evaluating the guests like a ruthless judge, ready to pass judgment on each of their worth. On the opposite side, a young waitress named Emilie weaved her way through the tables, her name tag almost invisible on her black uniform. Emilie, exhausted from long weeks of hard work to finance her studies, stood there, acutely aware of her role. The weight of fatigue was palpable in her hesitant stride, her eyes betraying an unwavering determination despite the challenges. When the moment came for her to serve the dish to Eveline, a tense silence settled over the room. "Here you go, ladies. I hope you enjoy your meal," she murmured, her voice slightly trembling but infused with a resolve not to be brought down. Eveline raised an eyebrow defiantly, examining the plate with disdain. "Excuse me, but what is this?" Eveline exclaimed, her cutting voice echoing through the room. "It looks like a burnt dish. How long did we wait for this?" Laughter erupted from her friends, fueling the toxic atmosphere. Emilie, taken aback, stammered apologies, but Eveline interrupted her. "Honestly, it's amazing to see how incompetent some people can be," Eveline mocked, relishing the attention she was garnering. Whispers of disapproval began to circulate around the table as Emilie, her cheeks flushed with shame, retreated, trying to hide her tears. She headed toward the kitchen, her heart heavy, promising herself never to let others' judgments define her. In the kitchen, Emilie took a moment to collect herself. She took a deep breath, recalling the reasons she had chosen to work in this restaurant. Every dish she served was a reflection of her dreams and sacrifices. She returned to the dining room with a new plate, her heart pounding, determined to show her professionalism despite the storm brewing around her. "Here is your dish, ma'am. I asked the chef to redo it for you. I hope it meets your expectations," she said in a firm, though trembling, voice. Eveline cast a disapproving glance at the plate before dismissively saying, "I suppose this will do, but learn to do your job properly." The laughter around the table slowly faded, replaced by palpable discomfort. Emilie, though hurt, remained silent. But in the shadows, the man in the gray suit silently observed the scene, his expression impassive but betraying deep indignation at the injustice. As the waitress returned to the kitchen, Eveline continued to berate her, dragging her friends into a spiral of mockery. The laughter and cruel comments flew, but Emilie was determined not to let this experience destroy her. In a dark corner of the room, a man in a gray suit stood up and walked towards the restaurant manager. "Excuse me, may I have a word with you?" he asked in a calm but firm voice. After a discreet exchange, the manager approached Eveline's table, carrying a bottle of champagne and an envelope, his face displaying unusual gravity. "Ladies," he began, his voice steady but serious, "this is a gesture from the house." Eveline's friends, surprised and delighted, applauded, unaware that the outcome would be far different from what they had anticipated. "This gesture comes directly from the owner, Charles Donovan. He observed your experience this evening and wishes to respond personally." The room fell silent, a palpable tension filling the air. The man in the gray suit slowly advanced, captivating all eyes, like a shadow emerging from the past. "Hello, I am Charles Donovan, the owner of this establishment," he declared with quiet confidence. Eveline paled, realizing with horror that she was about to be confronted with her actions. Charles pointed to Emilie, who stood timidly aside. "Emilie is my niece. She is one of the most dedicated workers I know, and I am proud to have her on my team." A heavy silence settled as color drained from Eveline's face. She had lost all her assurance. Charles continued, his voice resonating like a bell in the room. "I heard how you spoke to her tonight. I understand that mistakes can happen, but there are ways to handle them with respect." Charles's words struck like a thunderbolt, each syllable resonating in Eveline's mind. She had always believed that her status granted her rights, but now she found herself unmasked before her peers. She tried to retort, but the words stuck in her throat, unable to cross the threshold of her lips. Your attitude may allow you to buy luxury, but it does not give you the right to belittle those who serve you, he said calmly yet firmly, sweeping his gaze over all the diners. The atmosphere thickened as every gaze turned toward Eveline, reminding her of the necessity of humility, a lesson she had never believed she needed to learn. Eveline's friends exchanged worried glances, caught in the emotional storm that had just unfolded. Shame and embarrassment began to mingle with surprise as Eveline's aura slowly cracked. Charles concluded, his voice full of empathy and wisdom. Respect is the cornerstone of this establishment, not only towards the food we serve, but also towards those who prepare it. Every member of our team deserves to be treated with dignity. Eveline, realizing the impact of her actions, remained silent, her face pale. The silence that followed was heavy with meaning, each person in the room aware that this evening, which had begun with glaring arrogance, had transformed into a lesson in humility that everyone, including Eveline, would never forget. Seeing the impact of his words, Charles added gently, "Emilie, I want to thank you for your excellent work. Your passion and determination do not go unnoticed." Emilie, touched by this recognition, felt warmth wash over her. The admiring glances from her colleagues restored her confidence, and for the first time that evening, a smile illuminated her face. The approving murmurs from other patrons began to be heard, creating an atmosphere of solidarity towards Emilie. "Well done, Emilie," shouted one of the nearby tables, while another added, "It's a real pleasure to see an owner who cares about their staff." Eveline, meanwhile, realized that her behavior had not only exposed her true nature, but had also revealed the strength and dignity of others. She had seen herself as superior, but the lesson she had just received forced her to reevaluate. In a last-ditch effort to regain some dignity, she murmured apologies, but it felt insufficient. The evening ended in an atmosphere of unity and mutual respect, a striking contrast to the dynamic that had preceded it. Each exchanged glance between Emilie and her colleagues carried a promise of support and camaraderie, while Eveline, defeated, understood that arrogance could never replace compassion. As the guests began to leave the restaurant, Eveline's face remained marked by confusion and shame. She had learned the hard way that a high status does not grant the right to belittle others, but rather demands the responsibility to treat every individual with respect. And so, in this room that had been the stage for arrogance, humility emerged as the true winner of the evening, leaving behind a lesson that everyone would carry in memory. Charles Donovan's voice echoed in Eveline's mind, like a reminder of the truth she would never forget.